This video is based on Sadequain Foundation USA's book titled The Stranger by Sadequain. The book's author is Dr. Salman Ahmad. The Stranger is the most popular novel by Nobel Laureate Albert Camus. Sadequain was commissioned by the publisher of the limited edition book in France. It was an extraordinary achievement by Sadequain, who could not read or write or speak French, and yet he was chosen by the jury of experts over dozens of other aspiring artists to do the coveted commission. The story began in a town in Algeria, North Africa, where 33-year-old Maissault received bad news that his mother had died and her funeral was scheduled for the next day. The telegram he received read, "Mother passed away. Funeral tomorrow. Yours sincerely." That doesn't mean anything, he cogitated. It might have happened yesterday. He wondered, mother died today. Or perhaps yesterday, I don't know. Nonetheless, Maissault requested his employer for 2 days off. He received permission for time off, but felt that his employer expressed no sympathy for his predicament. He left soon thereafter. At the funeral, he was asked if he wished to view the body, but he declined and instead walked away to smoke a cigarette and drink coffee. The day after the funeral, Maissault ventured to a nearby beach, where he met Marie, a young woman who, at one time, worked with him. At that time, she was even interested in him, but the acquaintance never developed into a relationship. Marie and Maissault spent the day at the beach, and afterward went to a movie that evening. It was during that evening when Marie noticed Maissault's black tie, and upon inquiring of the occasion, learned about the death of his mother. She was surprised to find that his mother's funeral was just yesterday, but he seemed unmoved by any hint of grief. After the movie, Marie accompanied Maissault back to his apartment and spent the night there. The next morning, when Maissault woke up, Marie had already left. The following day, Maissault returned to work as usual. At one point during the day, his employer inquired how old his mother was at the time of her death, but Maissault did not know the answer and found it rather disconcerting. Nonetheless, Maissault plunged into work that had stacked up in his absence. Later, he had lunch with his friend Emmanuel at a local cafe and afterward returned home for a nap before returning to work. Soon, Maissault's life returned to normal with work and social activities. One day, he helped his friend and neighbor, Raymond, by writing a letter on his behalf to take revenge from a girlfriend suspected of infidelity. For Raymond, Maissault agreed to write a breakup letter because, he claimed, there was no reason not to help him. Maissault simply could not see any reason not to if it pleased Raymond. As an existentialist, he had no reason to regret what he did because it was already done. Regret is useless. This state of mind helped Maissault live fully in the present, bereft of emotions and empathy. This is not necessarily to say that he lacked these. However, they were conspicuously absent from the narrative. At the end of the week, Maissault and Marie spent time together at the beach. They enjoyed the day bathing and tanning, and then returned to Maissault's apartment. There, he asked Marie to stay for lunch, and found himself overwhelmed by the urge to kiss her when she smiled in a certain way. But when Marie asked him the question, he reluctantly admitted that he did not love her. Marie did not show any trace of disappointment. Soon thereafter, ruckus erupted at Raymond's apartment that interrupted their conversation. One day, Raymond invited Maissault and Marie to a friend's beach house. As they left, Raymond seemed a bit tense because some Arabs had been following him, and one of them was his former mistress' brother, with whom he had quarreled a few days ago. But no incident took place. The next day, Maissault's employer called Maissault into the office to offer him a job in a new branch of the company that was soon going to open. The employer thought it was a great opportunity for Maissault because it was in a bigger city. Maissault, however, was content to stay with his current position and saw no reason to change his lifestyle. The employer expressed disappointment for lack of ambition on Maissault's part. Maissault thought to himself that he had ambition once, but it all seemed so futile now. Maissault rose early on one Sunday to go to the beach with Marie and Raymond even though he was not feeling well. As the three friends departed for the bus stop, they noticed a group of Arab men leaning against the building across the street, wielding a knife and staring at Raymond. One of the Arab men was the brother of the mistress with whom Raymond had the fight not too long ago. Subsequently, they encountered the ex-girlfriend's brother and his Arab companion on the beach. These two confronted Raymond and wounded him with a knife during a struggle. Later, back on the beach, Walking alone and now armed with a pistol he took from Raymond so Raymond would not do anything rash, Massault encountered the Arab and fired at him. Despite killing the Arab man with the 17th first gunshot, he shot the dead body 4 more times. Massault was questioned by the police, arrested, and put in jail. He soon became acutely aware of his surroundings in the jail. The intense light levels in the interrogation rooms and the strong peculiar smell in his cell were different from those of his normal life. The court appointed an attorney for him. Massault's attorney met him and was perplexed by the man's lack of emotion about his current situation or about any of the events that led him to this place. The attorney had also been investigating Massault's background. The people who were interviewed commented on Massault's callous behavior, especially during his mother's funeral. Finally, the reality of prison life dawned on Massault. He was being punished by deprivation of ordinary things, such as cigarettes, that free men take for granted. Massault was put in a solitary cell. He could still see the water and the changing shades of the sunlight as each day progressed. Marie visited him only one time in the prison's visiting room that was noisy and lit with blinding lights. On the day of the trial, Massault was taken to the courthouse in handcuffs. He waited in a small holding area until it was time for him to enter the courtroom. While Massault waited, he was conscious of the sound of a loud commotion coming from inside the courtroom. Upon entering the courtroom, Massault was overcome by the loud noise and the intense sun shining through the windows. Massault was aware of the eyes of the jury and the pressmen. As the trial progressed, Massault grew increasingly distant from the proceedings. It had become obvious to him that the facts of the case were overridden by the ancillary details of his emotional state. The only rational statement from the prosecutor was that Massault was an intelligent man, but it could also be implied and misconstrued by the jury that Massault was fully aware of the crime he committed and its consequences. Unfortunately, Massault had never been able to express regret or foresee any possible implications of his actions. Massault's fate was sealed when the magistrate asked him if he had anything to say in his defense. But Massault could only respond that the son was the main culprit in the shooting incident. The people in the courtroom were incredulous at such a statement. At the trial, Massault's passive demeanor and seeming lack of remorse were noticeable. The prosecuting attorney highlighted Massault's inability and unwillingness to cry at his mother's funeral. The prosecutor denounced Massault and claimed that he must be a soulless monster and that he deserved only to die for his crime. Massault's attorney defended him and later told Massault that he expected the sentence to be light, but the judge announced the final decision in favor of public decapitation. In the prison, while awaiting his execution on the guillotine, Massault was approached by a chaplain, but rejected his offer of turning to God. Massault told the chaplain that turning to God was a waste of his time. Although the chaplain persisted, he could not dissuade Massault from atheism. During one encounter, Massault even attacked him in a rage and injured him. As Massault lay in his cell, he pondered over his appeal, but his execution seemed more probable. He fantasized of escape, but realized it was not feasible. If he should escape his fate, Massault vowed to attend every execution from now on to become better educated with these facts. Eventually, Massault accepted the inevitability of his execution. He pondered the need for a better system where the condemned person would have a choice. Perhaps a lethal drink could be developed that the condemned could choose from one of several glasses.